এবারে আপনাদের সামনে বক্তব্য রাখবেন শ্রীলঙ্কার যে জনতা বিমুক্তি পেরমোনা জেভিপি পিপুলস লিবারেশন ফ্রন্ট পার্টি পলিট ব্যুরো সদস্য ও ন্যাশনাল অর্গানাইজার এবং শ্রীলঙ্কার পার্লামেন্টের সদস্য কমরেড বিমল নিরোশান রত্নায়ক ওরাকুন। বিমল নিরোশান রত্নায়ক ওরাকুন।
Shubho Sanda. Good afternoon to everybody, and I bow in Sri Lankan way. And dear comrades, who are in the presidium, especially Comrade General Secretary, Comrade Kusema. I don't know whether I pronounce it correctly. He's always telling me I'm pronouncing his name wrongly. And dear mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, and fellow comrades from various countries. First of all, on behalf of my party, Janata Vimukti Peramuna, I think you can understand. I would like to give our sincere thanks for organizing this very important seminar to commemorate the October Revolution. And we had an opportunity to invite Comrade General Secretary of the Socialist Party of Bangladesh and the Comrade Firoz. They participated the October Revolution commemoration program which was held in Sri Lanka by our party just 2-3 weeks ago. So we have been building relations with two parties and two countries in this way also. Before I start my speech, because I know after hearing so many long speeches, I know it's not easy. But being in the communist movement, I think we are used to this. I think you can stay another 20 minutes to hear my speech also. And before I start about this October Revolution Comrade, because actually I want to make two comments. Actually, I want to salute to the people of Bangladesh for two reasons. First thing is, your country and your people being a beacon for the world. You showed how to fight for national liberations. You are the only country. You are the only country who fought two national liberation struggles within 25 years. Because my speech, my elaboration on this seminar will be mainly on national liberation struggles and the October Revolution. Second thing, it's a more relevant one for the today's world. Your country has become an example again how to resist imperialist-backed fundamentalist forces, religious fanatics forces in present days. Okay, we know there are some small elements in this country, but having 160 million people, and majority of them are religious, Islam or Hindu or whatever, but big majority of the people, they are against this fundamentalism. This gives us a hope. Okay, comrade. And I would like to share some information with you. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, we have many similarities in our Sri Lankan history, in our culture. It's a very, very established thing. Some 2,500 years ago, a prince from Bangladesh, I think that was Bangladesh, came to Sri Lanka and he married a Sri Lankan princess and that's how we started our monarchy in Sri Lanka. So still, even our textbooks, we teach it like that way. So we think we share that link also. Not only that, most of your progressive and classical literature has been translated to our languages. So when I read Apur Sansar, Aparajito, Gora, all these books, I can say it's 100%, 101%, it's truly Sri Lankan. So we have that love on your country. Even though we are neighbors in the sense of we are sharing the same Bay of Bengal. Now I will tell some things about this October Revolution. First, because we have our party wrote mainly 4 documents elaborating and analyzing the achievements and the problems of the USSR in the fields of building Marxist-Leninist party, in the the impact of USSR. Second thing, the national liberation movement and the impact of October Revolution. And another document we made by our Central Committee, a political perusal of the colors of the Soviet Union. And the last one we recently published, how did USSR solve the national question in Russia and how it helped other countries. But today I thought to use this national liberation struggles and the October Revolution. So it is 100 years this year since the occurrence of the Great October Revolution, the marvelous event that gave birth to the first socialist state on this earth. As my previous comrades mentioned, we all know about Paris Commune. It lasted only 72 years. The Soviet Union, created by the Great October Revolution under the leadership of Bolsheviks headed by Lenin, is no more. However, values it bestowed upon us still exist. The lessons it taught, its experiences and its ideas are immensely valuable to the world. So we do not intend making a deep theoretical analysis on how Soviet Union built socialism or about its downfall from this small article. Because this is a celebration. We can have a theoretical debate. We need this. But this is a ceremony. We have to leave this hall with full of morale, full of feelings to work and to work for the socialist cause. To see another wave of socialist solutions in our lifetime. So, we expect, so I will tell mainly positive things about the role played by the Soviet Union, especially on the on national liberation struggles of other countries. But before that, I would like to mention, I'm coming from Sri Lanka, a small island in Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal. So my party, People's Liberation Front, Janata Vimukti Peramon, it was founded in '65, group of young, dedicated, working class leaders. And we have, and we established a Marxist-Leninist party in '67. We raised 2 armed struggles to establish socialist rule. We failed. We lost first time 10,000 comrades and sympathizers. Second time 66,000 comrades and all our leadership at 1989 period. But we are still fighting. Out of all these massacres, communism, Leninism and all the experiences of communist movement, had helped us to our former generation of our leaders and comrades to rebuild our party. Now again we have been giving a lot of sleepless nights to our capitalist rulers. We have been fighting in all areas in our country. We have become the most militant and most influential political force in one of the most influential political forces in Sri Lanka. Even though we do not represent that influence in the parliament. But we think parliament is only a platform. To be honest, our party, we do not believe to get the majority rule in the parliament through parliamentary elections. We don't have any illusion for this. We use parliament as a platform. We are mainly focusing on mass struggle. That is our main strategy. We have to, because in this imperialist era, our party's strategy is to form a patriotic mass movement under the leadership of communist parties to establish socialist working class rule. So we are working for this. So that's why, as a party who are working to establish socialist rule, who believe on this strategy, anti-imperialist struggle. That's why I thought, because all our countries are under imperialist threat, rule. That's why I thought better to explain some things about role of the Soviet Union, role of the socialism for the national liberations struggles. For countries such as Sri Lanka, considered as so-called third world countries with a backward capitalist development and battered by neo-colonialism, Socialist Soviet Union was a stimulus, a blessing and ideal. Soviet Union was the ideal, the example we had when imparting socialist ideology and organizing the downtrodden masses for the socialist revolution in our countries. It was from Soviet Union that we quoted examples to explain to our peoples that socialism can liberate the downtrodden masses and solve all socio-economic issues confronted by the masses. In left and anti-imperialist movements in our countries, there were those who genuinely struggled and made sacrifices for socialism. There were also those who depended on socialism for maintenance and their living, but indirectly served capitalism. And for them, Soviet Union was important for their existence and to enjoy privileges. This is the negative aspect. However, Soviet Union was important for those who genuinely struggled for socialism in several aspects. One was the means of creating trust and the idea that existed to instill that socialism is a reality and could be established. Hence, the political and intellectual influence of Soviet Union imparted to countries like ours was immense. Dear comrades, another issue confronted by small, backward capitalist countries such as Sri Lanka when struggling for socialism was the possibility for imperialism to defeat any victories achieved by socialist revolution. Soviet Union was the best and the only hope for such a serious issue. Soviet Union had divided the world into two powerful camps and had taken the leadership of the socialist camp. Hence, Soviet Union was the only guarantee and hope for small countries that wish to achieve socialism. Not only socialism, even for national liberation. I think Soviet Union played a positive role in your liberation struggle also. We experienced it in history. We saw how Soviet Union supported the Chinese Revolution and helped China until the beginning of 1960s to build socialism. The contribution by the Soviet Union in Vietnam Revolution was an inspiration for countries like ours. We saw the contribution by the Soviet Union to protect socialism in Cuba, a country very close to USA, after the Cuba won its revolution. In the Soviet Union was a strong guarantee for masses in countries like ours who struggle for socialism and national liberation. So I will tell some things about this national liberation struggles. It is evident the Soviet Union, even with certain shortcomings, fulfilled an important role in the struggles carried out against imperialism, colonialism and neocolonialism by downtrodden masses in countries that were under colonialism. One political objective of the Third Communist International, which was established in 1990 under the leadership of Comrade Lenin after the victory of Great October Revolution in 1970, was that all anti-colonial national liberation struggles should lead to socialist victory, and the Socialist Soviet Union and the Third International should mediate to achieve such a victory. This is the strategy we are following. Even these days, our countries in Bangladesh and everywhere, we are fighting against imperialist forces and the capitalist class in our countries. So we believe the communists, the revolutionaries, Marxists must lead the anti-imperialist struggle. I think the Bangladesh left parties has evaluated many times, even though they sacrificed by hundreds of thousands of good cadres and of their left parties in 1960s and 71, I think we have to analyze why Bangladesh was not able to establish socialist rule like in China, Korea and Vietnam. It was the case for many countries. But still we think it is the strategy we have to use. For capitalist leaders and governments in Africa and Asia were viewed as progressive and were supported. I'm talking about negative role played by the Soviet Union. However, Soviet Union was the friend of masses in Asia, Africa and Latin America in the anti-imperialist struggle. The mediation by Soviet Union supporting Nasser in the move to nationalize Suez Canal was an encouragement to countries in the world that contemplated similar moves. It is evident that the USA would never invade Iraq, topple Gaddafi's administration in Libya, or invade Afghanistan if Soviet Union still existed. In Sri Lanka too, it was the Soviet Union that supported its struggle against imperialism and neocolonialism. It was the same time, Soviet government did some wrong things also. In 1970s, it was with the support and aid from Soviet Union that the capitalist administration of Sri Lanka, formed in 1970, confronted the opposition from imperialists when certain foreign companies were nationalized. The example and support our countries received from the Soviet Union to establish standpoint that we need not to be subdued by imperialism but should struggle against it is one that cannot be ignored. And Soviet Union made a lot of material aid for almost all the liberation movements of the world, except few. Our party is one, who were not supported. But it's okay. We know without help from the Soviet Union, almost all the African countries would not be won their struggles. Mandela wrote in his Long Walk to Freedom. In that book he wrote how Soviet Union helped the South African liberation struggle. In Cuba also, in everywhere, in Namibia, Angola, Cubans were fighting, but we do know all the Soviet weapons, military tanks, and even military specialists played a big role in Angolan independence. It's everywhere. So I do not want to take much of your time. Those are the positive things. But at the same time, we see Soviet Union did some blunders also. I can tell you few. That is, Soviet Union regarded some backward capitalist countries, their rulers, capitalist rulers, as friends of Soviet Union or socialism. Yes, they were supportive to the Soviet Union, but they were real, true, murderous capitalists. For an example, when we were raising arms struggle against the Sri Lankan regime in 1971, which started a lot of killings and abductions of our comrades since 1969, Soviet Union generously gave all the tanks and MiG planes to suppress our struggle. Not only in Sri Lanka, there are other examples also. Because Soviet government thought these capitalist rulers of our countries are friends of Soviet Russia, but which was not true. At the same time, Soviet Union gave a lot of material aid for the governments, not only to the national liberation movements. They gave a lot of material support for the capitalist governments like Sri Lanka, India, everywhere. For Sri Lanka, they gave steel factory, paper factories, many. I know, even in Bangladesh also. We make out many things. But we think that in a way, Soviet Union used surplus labor of Soviet workers just to strengthen capitalist economies and capitalist rulers in our countries. So, finally, I would like to tell you another negative thing. Soviet Union established this Patrice Lumumba University of People's Friendship, later named it People's Friendship University of Russia. It gave thousands of scholarships for almost all Asian, African, Latin American countries. Our founder leader was a scholar who got a scholarship from Soviet Russia. But now we see, even before collapse of the Soviet Union, we observe all these graduates, all these people who got all these scholarships. Majority, we do accept. They would not become just Marxists because of a scholarship. But majority of these scholars or graduates, did they help for their respective parties, Marxist parties in their respective countries? In our experience, in Sri Lankan experience is no. Our party, we didn't get anything because we were not from traditionally Soviet Union nor from Chinese. In our case, we are a very independent communist movement since the beginning, so we are not claiming this. But we do know in the Sri Lankan Communist Party, they got many. But now Sri Lankan Communist Party is in a very, very grave situation and there's no graduate, Soviet graduate or anyone. They are not doing it. So we think, in short, before I wind up, Soviet Union in the name, when they helped, they assisted, they guided national liberation struggle all over the world. That is the main positive thing. But in the same time, they undermine the role of capitalist capitalist rulers, their role in our respective countries against communists and socialists. So, finally, I would like to mention here, after all, despite having all these problems, our party, we think, Soviet Union had its influence and impact on our countries, ideologically, materially, and educationally, on the people, towards socialism, towards national liberation, towards progress and social change assignments. So our countries felt the value of the Soviet Union more only after it was lost. Hence, the aspiration of the left movements in our countries is to see build up socialism in Russia and the re-emergence of Leninist internationalism. We end this article with the firm belief that Russian people and the masses all over the world will be able to reacquire the victories of Great October Revolution that were temporarily diverted by the enemies. Lal Salam, Red Child.